What is going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to Confessions of a Fitness Coach. I'm your host, Coach Danielle Collette, and I'm here with my guest, Benjamin Bunn, aka at Coach Bunny on Instagram with an underscore in between. He's a former paratrooper, a Green Beret, a CrossFit affiliate owner. You own Cigar City Crossfit in Ybor, and a Lululemon ambassador. Ben, welcome. Tell us a little bit about you. What's going on?
Thank you for having me on the show. First and foremost, I'm a fan. I've been listening to your episodes, and so far so good. It's really great. I'm glad you're out there and chasing down your dreams. And it's interesting to hear other people that are involved in the fitness industry, and I appreciate you sharing your story with everybody. I'm a Tampa native. I was born and raised in Florida. I know that's really weird. You don't really see a lot of that. You talked about that on your first podcast, so I thought that was great. But I joined the Army at the age of 17. And as a result, I kind of was all over the place for the better part of 2 decades. But I recently retired from the Army in March of 2016 and transitioned back home here in Tampa. And I opened up a CrossFit gym here in Tampa, Florida. And it's our 2-year anniversary on April 18th. So it's like literally a week and a half away. So we've been in the business for about 2 years now. And I've just been really enjoying that and kind of, the fitness industry, entrepreneurship, and all these things are a bit of a roller coaster, but I've really been enjoying the ride.
That's awesome. Yeah. Congratulations on your 2-year anniversary. I see you're having at Rock Brothers.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. That's how I actually found out about you, was through Kevin. So.
Oh, Kevin Lilly's the best.
Yeah. He's a good friend of mine as well. So talking about that gym, what made you want to open the gym just getting out of the military? I listened to your last podcast you were on, and you said you opened your gym 3 days after getting out.
Yeah, I mean, so I got out of the Army on March 31st of 2016, and our soft opening, kind of our grand opening was on April 2nd, and then regular classes started on April 18th. So I really wasted no time whatsoever. In hindsight, I might have given myself a little bit more dwell time, but a Rolling Stone gathers no moss. I didn't want to be one of these like goofy veterans kind of crying into a glass of whiskey or greeting people at Walmart or whatever. I decided that I wanted to do something as soon as I got out of the Army. When I got involved in special operations, particularly when I was training to be in the Special Forces, being physically fit became a really big priority. And as a young man, I didn't play sports. I wasn't particularly gifted athletically in any way, shape, or form. And to this day, watching me throw a ball is still pretty humiliating. But so fitness all of a sudden became a big priority. It's a big deal in special operations. It's the equivalent of a handshake. So if you're not physically fit, if you're not able to pass through that first barrier to entry, generally speaking, people will assume that you don't have the physical toughness or discipline to excel in that profession. So I had to get physically fit. And I found CrossFit around 2004. It was like this weird kind of niche, boot camp style, very tough, very hard training that was only available online. This was like, when the internet, still wasn't like very, not a lot of websites. I think Lycos still existed, right? Like I couldn't even Google things back then. But I found it, and I found it to be a lot of fun, and it got me very fit, and it helped me prepare and excel and make it through Special Forces training, and then excel as an operator once I was actually in the Special Forces. And I thought it was great, and I was really passionate about it. And I always thought to myself, man, one day I'm going to open up my own gym. And as I came to the tail end of my military career, that thought that I had, this thing that I was very passionate about, really started to become a little bit more concrete. And, lo and behold, my last year in the Army, I spent the majority of my time creating a business plan and getting all my ducks in a row to open the business that I opened, 72 hours after getting out of the Army.
That's crazy. That's an insane story.
Mm-hmm.
Do you incorporate a lot of the stuff that you learned in the military into your classes at Cigar City CrossFit?
You know, sometimes, it's funny, but the military taught me to be a very competitive individual, and we prize physical fitness in that profession. But I found that as a coach, somebody's physical fitness, generally speaking, doesn't have anything to do with their character. And that's kind of wild because it does in the military. If somebody wasn't physically fit, we'd be like, am I allowed to cuss on this show?
Absolutely. It's explicit as fuck.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
If you were not physically fit, you were a shit bag, You were a literal bag of shit. But that's not the case, right? Because out in the world, your ability to run with stuff on your back doesn't have anything to do with your character or who you are or your ability to just like walk around in the world and raise children or do whatever it is that you do at your job.
Yeah.
You should be a great person and not be physically fit. And I saw that once I got out of the military. And at first, there's definitely aspects. There's a regimented aspect to the way that we run group training. I'm sure you understand that as an Orange Theory instructor. I mean, boy, down to the second, right?
Yep.
But I found that I kind of embraced kind of having a little bit less structure. And although accountability, discipline, and all these things are still very important to us, I don't live and die by it the way that I used to, and I mean that literally and figuratively. However,
you're just taking a little bit more fun side of it.
Yeah. Now, that being said, admin side and the back end of the business, all my professional development, how I counsel my employees, how I develop them professionally, I take all kinds of stuff from the military all the time. I steal from them constantly. So it's, my background in that profession has really lent well towards me developing a pretty professional organization, which I think sets us a little bit apart from a lot of other strength and conditioning facilities.
That's so cool. Awesome. So talking about kind of just transitioning to civilian life, was that tough for you to come back to Tampa and, being overseas and doing all that, what you went through and coming back? Was it really tough, or was it easier because you got right into the business 3 days in?
So, yeah, it's tough, right? And, when I left the military, whenever somebody leaves the military, it's always, I guess, anticlimactic. It's never the way you think it's going to be. And it always seems very abrupt when it actually does happen. You think that there's going to be a ticker tape parade and this easy transition, but at the end of the day, you retire, some lady takes your old ID card, gives you a new one, and then a guy like escorts you off post. And like you get this like piece of paper, that essentially, summarizes your entire military career, and it's a one sheet, and you're like, holy shit. And
Wow.
and you're out there in the world. And the Army has some great things in place to help people transitioning. But at the end of the day, there's nothing to really prepare you for that. And, the Army, the military, is this homogenous experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like high school or like growing up in a small town. All your friends are doing the same things. You go to the same place every day, day in, out. All your experiences are the same. Just the same way any Orange Theory instructor probably has a story that they can relate to about training. You have these shared experiences, shared training, shared background, suffer through the same things, and it creates a little bit more cohesion, right? And it creates these tight social networks. And in the Army, it spans like that for years. And in my case, almost 20 years. So stepping away from that is that same way that kid that grew up in a small town and goes off to the big city feels lost, like you don't know anybody. That's so difficult for so many veterans. But to answer your question, yeah, because I created my own community, I created another organization that essentially makes homogenous experiences. Hey, do this group training with me, suffer with me, story, and let's all be friends. And and it's kind of this place that we created where a bunch of like-minded people hang out. It's like going to church. It's just a place where people hang out a couple times a week, talk shit, pray, whatever, you know what I'm saying? And then, at the end of the day, we walk away and feel a little bit better for having done it. So having created that kind of that environment or, that community has been so helpful in my transition. Really, it's made all the difference in the world.
So yeah, that's big and important. I read that you're a part of a nonprofit as well. Tell me a little bit about what you do with that and what it means to you.
I work with a couple nonprofits. I work with Companions for Heroes. I'm the event director for them. They pair service animals with veterans, first responders, and law enforcement personnel that are usually suffering from post-traumatic stress, or maybe they're polytrauma or adaptive athletes, things like this, missing limbs, traumatic brain injuries, or just battling depression.
Mm-hmm.
And the organization pairs them up with a rescue dog or cat, whatever the case may be, and then helps get those animals trained so that it can be an actual service companion if they need it, or in some cases just get some like house trained and stuff like that, like basic obedience. I'm actually a benefactor of the program. I've got a dog named Jolene that I love. She's in my bed. It's rainy, so she doesn't want to go outside at all. She's laying in bed right now, but I got her through the same organization that I work for, and I find a lot of fulfillment in working for them. It's a great organization. I really believe in the cause, and I also do events sporadically for a local organization called Exalted Warrior, which is run by a lady named Annie Okerlund and a guy named Nicholas Karras, or Nikki Namaste, better known as. And it gives yoga, or the practice of yoga, to polytrauma adaptive athletes, and kind of uses as a piece of cognitive and physical therapy. I think it's another great organization. Both, of course, focus a lot on veterans, but service is a really big part of my life. It was when I was in the Army, and I knew it would be important to hang on to that as I transitioned into a civilian. So I kind of volunteer whenever I can.
That's so amazing. Do you find that fitness to be a good outlet for someone suffering with PTSD?
Oh my God. Yes. I mean, for so many reasons, right? Just working out makes you feel good.
Yeah, endorphins.
Yeah, I mean, it's real. There's real science there. You know what I mean? It makes you feel good. It'll change your body composition. Generally speaking, you will probably look better naked, which will probably feel great, But, it gives you the opportunity to find structure on a day-to-day basis. You have this thing that you hold yourself accountable to do. And I think people who are suffering with depression or post-traumatic stress, or just issues in general, maybe you're just in your 20s and a fucking mess.
Yeah.
You should find structure. I mean, start small, start flossing every day and go from there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's daily habits for
Yeah.
sure.
And you create these habits, and eventually if fitness becomes one of them, I find that it just really makes a huge difference in people's lives. And if you can figure out a way to do it with friends, whew, even better.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
What 3 tips would you give for someone struggling with PTSD to get out of the negative mindset and just kind of get motivated? Like, what do you do whenever you get down and you just feel like you can't get out of it?
Yeah, I mean, that's a hard one, right? The top 3. If I had to name the top 3, the first one would be, to break the cycle, right? And that would be to get out of whatever current habits that you're in, whether it's sticking around the house too often, hanging out with the same people, going to the bar. I would break that cycle and create yourself a new habit. Which brings me to the second thing is find a healthy habit or hobby. Okay. And that's not always easy. Because I mean, like when I remember back in the day, I was on a dating app when I first came back from Italy, and they were confusing to me because, that's not a thing in Europe, and it had been in America for like a couple years. And I got on this dating app, and I was like, somebody was like, stick your hobbies on there. And I was like, I don't really, who has hobbies? Do people bird watch and scrapbook or play accordion or all this other weird shit? But come to find out they do, right? And it took me a while, but I've got hobbies, right? Like on the weekends, I shop for vinyl. I like,
So cool.
yeah, I like eating at new places and trying coffee anywhere that I can. I enjoy fitness. I like reading self-help books is like a new hobby of mine. I love listening to podcasts. These things are all things that you can do, but you have to establish one of these healthy or productive habits. The one that I normally recommend is volunteerism or exercise. And then go find a community to do that in. So you got to break these bad habits, find a new one that's good, and go do it in a community, make friends, and I think that's so key. Finding a community, finding a strong social network, finding good friends is huge if you're suffering from post-traumatic stress or depression.
Those are awesome. Thank you for that. Well, Ben, thank you so much, number one, for your service, and then also for coming on and being a part of my show. I hope that your story inspires and touches someone's life. And if someone was interested in finding out more about your nonprofit, where should they look?
You can Google both Companions for Heroes and Exalted Warrior online. It's very easy to donate. People are always trying to figure out, hey, how can I give back? Hey, listen, $5 could mean a yoga class for somebody that's missing a leg that's too scared to go. Or it could mean, saving a dog from a shelter and putting them in the hands of somebody that's suffering. So go there and donate if you get the opportunity. Like I said, no amount is too small. Every little bit helps.
That's awesome. And if somebody's looking to find you on social media or website, where should they look?
You can, I'm all over the place on at @coach_bunny, spelled BUNNY. And of course, you can find me all over the Cigar City CrossFit Instagram. It's all one word. And then the website, cigarcitycrossfit.com, is a great way to get in touch with me as well. We're highly responsive. I return emails like the same day. Feel free to DM me. Nothing weird.
No dick pics.
None of that. None of that.
Awesome. Well, thanks for listening to Confessions of a Fitness Coach, guys. I'm your host, Coach Danielle Collette. Find me on social media. Please, if you enjoyed this episode, I want to hear from you. Write me and tell me what you liked, and have an awesome day and go crush it. And thanks again, Ben. Have an awesome day. I'll see you later.
Happy to help. Thanks.